Welcome to Franchise Focus, a very special episode since it's the 50th episode. I'm your host, Lisa Lenkowski. I'm the owner of Milestone Franchising. I'm a certified franchise consultant, and I represent hundreds of franchise concepts. And in studio with me today is one of the concepts that I represent and one of the candidates that I represented. So this is even more special. Andre Amaral, who is the franchise owner of Molly Maid in North Jersey, and he covers a whole vast array of Woodbridge, Edison, and Rahway. And welcome, Andre.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to have you on with us today, the 50th episode, which is absolutely crazy. So, Andre, before we dive into Molly Maid and you being a franchise owner, talk to us briefly about what you were doing before franchising came and brought you in.
Well, good afternoon. But I was working with in the restaurant business, the food and beverage, and since the early 2000s, and I was working in the airport environment, and when COVID hit, it just changed a lot of things. And also the leadership in the company changed, and the directions where things were going, and that's where I was maybe a year and a half ago. So that's my background. Just food and beverage. I was overseeing pre-COVID a large team, and then everything shrunk, and then things start reopening in a very weird way for everyone. Right. But for us, at least for me, even mentally, and it impacted us in a very different way. Because no one was expecting the COVID to last long, and then things, and then also everything else changed around us.
Absolutely. And when I reached out to you in March 2021, I had asked the fated words of, have you ever thought about owning a franchise business? What made you respond to me, and what made us start our relationship?
Well, we always thought about opening a business to start something else, because we were both, myself and Patty, we were, which is part of the business, but she's right now not an active part yet, but then she's always there to support and to give even advice, because she's still in the corporate world. But we always thought about opening a business, but we were not really sure how. And then sometimes the momentum will come up, but then something else will just slow us down, and then it will just have us refocus on our jobs, and because it was a more certain income, and then usually when it benefits that come along with it keeps you on a safe zone.
Right.
And then that was actually, that's what held us back for many years.
Right. And we met, it would be 8 o'clock at night.
Yep.
You and Patty, dog tired from working exhausting hours, right?
Sure.
And one of the words that you had said to me is, I am never going back to work for someone else ever again. And here you are, all this time later. Are you still feeling good about that decision, I'm hoping?
Yes. Of course, when you work in the corporate world, you have a lot of nets. Yeah. Okay, so what happens is, and I always kept in mind one thing it came up in a conversation that you said multiple times about you owning your own franchise and your own business, which is when you're a business owner, there's ups and downs, it's a roller coaster. And then you need to be able to overcome those downs, and you need to be able to maneuver around that, because especially in the beginning, there's always going to be a challenge, and here and there. So that's what I always kept in mind, and kept my focus.
Right. Yeah. And there's a lot of scary stuff that happens, and you don't know, and you have lack of control when you're working in corporate, someone else is handling that stuff, and you just come in and do your job. And
Exactly.
some stuff you got to deal with, but a lot of stuff you don't behind the scenes. But with this, it's all on you, right?
Sure.
So I had shown you several concepts, and even I was feeling that they were not quite fitting right. And I said, let me give another stab at this. And Molly Maid, which is a brand name, well known.
Sure.
They happen to have the availability in your area. And we then, once I showed that to you, it just took off from that point. So talk to us about Molly Maid. What is it all about? What is it that you're doing?
Sure. Well, at that point too, we were in a more advanced stage of looking at the market, looking at what was available. Things were changing in the actual job at the time, so which gave me more strength and then courage to just say, okay, we really need to find something. But at the same time, I didn't want to just jump on the first concept. And when Molly Maid was presented to us, it kind of clicked. It took a couple of meetings, but it seemed right because we were looking for a concept that had a proven software that because it was not the concept just itself and the idea, it's what's behind it. And us knowing about the businesses and running different franchises for others as operation managers, we know what can push you back, and a lot of times is the support. And I give a few examples on some food businesses that were giving a lot of support and others that didn't. So when Molly Maid came, the more we got into it and just seemed right. Like the ability for them to provide a calls, just have a call center, and then also actually that. It was, well, they don't have really a call center, but it's an arrangement and it's very affordable to have someone pick up the phone when you're not in the office.
Right.
And we don't miss a call even on the weekends.
Right.
So that's something that, and then as we dig more, we realized that that the brand, it's as the president mentions a lot, is we want to be the Ritz Carlton of the cleaning services, because it's not just another cleaning service. It's a premium service, and it seems like it's a great fit for what we were looking for and what we could provide.
Yeah, and this is a cleaning service, residential and commercial, or you're just focusing on the residential?
Initial was residential. The concept is more focused on residential, but there's a room. And then as we start growing from scratch, we start exploring the commercial side of it. And we do have a considerable amount of customers now that have, they are commercial, and we do have, the main focus is on house cleanings, on private houses.
So you've got, this time going forward, you've now been able to expand into the commercial, excuse my voice, you've been able to expand into the commercial arena, and that's going well for you, but your primary focus is on that residential space.
Sure, yes.
Terrific. And at this time, what does your staffing look like?
Right now I have eight workers on the payroll. We started with 3, and we still hold, after a year almost, we still have the 2 of the original ones, especially the office manager, and then one of the team leaders. But there was a few changes, of course, because we were not sure exactly when we open how things are going to go. With us, as we opened on December 27th, the doors to the public, we had 0 customers, and then Omicron happened at the same time. It was happening at the same time, right after Christmas. Is usually the down season, it's winter, but we had to open. It was part of the plan, and it's one of those situations, and that we had a few bumps in that we couldn't control in the beginning, but like Google registration was suspended for almost over a month.
Right.
For technical reasons that were beyond us. It was everybody went back to work from home, and it was an accumulation of situations that instead of crying about it, we just came up with different solutions and just trying to overcome the difficulties, and we just had to point in one direction
and keep on going,
and
dust
keep on
yourself
going.
off and keep
and
on
I kept
going.
thinking about what you kept saying to me. It's never easy, and there's going to be some ups and then some downs, and that's what kept my focus.
I remember you also were having a challenge with getting a vehicle, because that was also a big issue too at the time, right?
That's what delayed the opening, actually,
Right.
because I didn't have vehicles to open. There was a couple of adaptations because there was a restriction on vehicles, and even the purveyor couldn't control it much because we couldn't find drivers to bring the car to our office and send it to be wrapped. So there was a lot of challenges where we were working for the first 3 weeks with a rental that they provided to us because the car only arrived 2 weeks after we opened. We couldn't just keep delaying the opening, and that's what happened, and it's still happening.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
it's still difficult to find vehicles
that was one
to
of
this
the
day.
yeah. We had a bump in the middle of just as an example, in the middle of in the beginning of June, a not-at-fault accident with one of the vehicles that was completely totaled, and I had to wait until last month for another replacement vehicle.
Since June.
Since June, so I had to get a rental, and then because it became costly, then I have to thank my friend Jahira that I borrowed the car from her for a couple of months. She had an extra vehicle at home, and she was kind enough to loan me the vehicle until I had a replacement. Because paying for a rental, it was really costly. But so it's one of those situations where, and actually my employee is still out of a workman's comp. So it's one of those situations that happen, and you have no control on it. All you can do is find solutions.
That's right. Find the solutions, and you're still standing. It's that critical 1 year you're hitting, that 1 year mark. You're still standing, and from everything that's happened, you're still moving along, and you've got your business, which is wonderful.
Yes.
And Molly Maid has been very supportive of you during all of this.
Yes, we had a business coach, Sherry, that she's amazing, and she was with us after a few weeks we opened. She spent a week with us, giving a lot of support, finding solutions, and then there's always weekly calls that turn into every other week calls and turn into monthly calls, and now it's just you okay, because the support is there. And also one thing I found in Molly Maid is the other owners jump in to help without being even requested, which is amazing. I get phone calls asking me, "Hey, I'm an owner from South Carolina. We became friends. Craig, he didn't know me. I just met him 2 weeks ago in person. But since the beginning, he was calling me, asking me if I needed anything. And so it turned into, sometimes we will be a month without talking, but that support, give advice. And I'll take, I don't mind giving advice and coaching and teaching. And I was amazed that someone who's doing that to me, trying to mentor me, and without any request, no one asked him. He was just on his own decided to ask to see if I needed his mentoring and mentorship, and then I accepted it. And every time I have a question, I call. And then there's other owners too, from Chicago, the owner in Ohio, in Youngstown, where I trained in the middle of the winter, which there was not snowing that much, but I drove there for the training, and then Katie is also great, and she's always, especially in the beginning, we were on a speed dial with her, like for technical support, but we have the brand has technical support as well, and then they give but the whole network, it's great.
Great.
Where each owners support each other, and they give support as needed. And I count on doing that because I like to do that as well. And it's a culture.
Right.
They create it, and it's that's why I'm really glad that we chose this brand.
Excellent. Well, what a great place for us to pause. And we're going to hear a quick word from our sponsor, Zoom One Media. Stay tuned.
Aloha! Joe Silva here with Kukua Technologies. I'm excited to see you on Tuesdays on Morning Coffee for our tech tips.
Let's face it, lawyers get a bad rap. I'm Erin Brucey, host of Legal Breakdown, where we dissect legal topics for the everyday viewer, with a mix of interesting guests to talk about current events and hot legal topics. Let's work together to make the law accessible and relevant to everyone. Catch us every week on RVN Television.
Welcome back to Franchise Focus, our very special 50th anniversary. Our 50th episode, and I have in studio with me a wonderful, wonderful guest, which is Andre Amaral, who is the owner of Molly Maid, of Rahway and Edison and Woodbridge. And Andre, one of the things that we were talking about before the break was the system and the support that you get. And I want to point out that you are in the executive model for this business. So there's an owner-operator where you're all in, you're doing everything. You would be getting out the mop and cleaning and washing windows and all that, but that's not what you're doing. You're doing an executive model where you've got your employees are the ones who are doing this. You're helping to secure the business and make the business run from the background and manage everything, right? So that's the type of model that we're talking about. And you're not having to sit there and go vacuum, but if you had to, you would, but that's not the idea of this concept. One of the things that you were very deliberate about in our discussions was about the territory. And territory is something that sometimes gets overlooked in this process. And it can be very important. And territory is carved out based upon, income, or it could be, population size, and of course, the actual area. Talk to us about your process for the area that you carved out and why.
Sure. So when we looked at the available zip codes in the area, we realized that there was a lot of it was a dense populated area where we live, around where we live, especially Edison and the Woodbridge area, and when we realized, based also on our neighbors and the future neighbors at the time, and then the possible expansion in the future to acquire more territories, and also to stay within budget, we decided to dig. I kept changing the zip codes a little bit until almost the lockdown on the contract agreement, because and on top of it there was a zip code adjustment. They were doing a review and a revamp of because there's some areas. We live in an area that it's been exists for quite a few times. It's probably the the 19th century, like areas like Cranford, Westfield, and some parts of Woodbridge and Edison exist for quite a while.
Right.
And there is, for example, just a quick example, some zip codes where one owner has already a part of a parking lot of one zip code, and I will get the whole rest, which you will create a little bit of a conflict. So we put some things on pause. So because being some older zip codes, they kind of just go overlap. So we were able to arrange everything and then decide to go with a more densely populated, more higher income area. That's what led us to just focus a lot on the territory. Where are we gonna put the office? The distances, because around us having a lot of traffic, we need to really think about route efficiencies and not get stuck in traffic, not have the team get stuck and then being delayed from one service to another. And then. At the time, I didn't have all the information, but then I realized that I made the right decision, and then with possible expansions in the future that are going to allow us to grow.
And that was my question to you, is looking back now, are you happy with what you had chosen? And by the way, again, all of those things that you just talked about that no one thinks about, that getting stuck in traffic and now you're late to an appointment and where your workers are stuck in so much traffic and that's taking away time from being on the job site. So are you very pleased with where you are in the area that you have?
Yes, we are. Of course, no, I'm never satisfied because that's how I keep driving myself every day. But it was a good choice. And we have 3 neighbors, other Molly-Made owners in here, so we have to also be partners sometimes, and then create a relationship where sometimes I get a phone call and say, hey, look, can you come and clean because I'm overbooked, and vice versa. Okay. And that way we don't lose a customer, and we had those calls, and it's great to have nice neighbors and being able to be understanding, and also they will also give all the support possible as my neighbors, and welcome to the system, and they were also very, very great. But yeah, I think it was a good decision, and then I think we're just moving forward. We can always see things in a big picture, right. And then as we grow.
Absolutely. And again, that goes back to the beauty of franchising, that you have the system in place. You've got the other owners that are cheerleading you on because you're not in competition with each other, right? You're your own entity businesses. And the better that you are and the stronger that you are, that helps the entire system. So it really motivates everyone to help each other because it just makes Molly-Made that much better for everyone, and your reviews are stronger, and just everything from beginning to end is that much better, right?
Sure.
That's the whole reason why franchising exists. So you're a year in here, just coming on a year, and last year you had just missed it, but this year you were able to attend the Molly-Made conference. You went to it 2 weeks ago. Talk to us about what that conference was like for you as a rookie.
Sure. It was not just a Molly-Made. It was all the brands from Neighborly.
Okay.
But each one of we had our own meetings, our own focus. But I was really not overwhelmed, but very surprised when on the day of my arrival we had the general banquet, and it was over 4,000 people, and I don't think I've ever been in a dinner with such a large number of attendants, because it was all the brands, all the owners, and it was and they were giving the franchise of the years for each brand awards, and then I felt a little bit of overwhelmed because when you hear owners and you see them, because they play small videos before they get called to the stage and to receive the award, and you see their offices and how big they are, how many teams they have, and not just from Molly-Made, and for other brands, and you see the possibility of growing to those sizes of businesses, but but you need to be humble as well. And then thinking, okay, I am the rookie here, and then I'm here to learn, and I'm here to absorb information from everyone. And then if they want some from my background, my experience, I'll gladly share. But I'm here more to be a sponge. And then it was we had our own small awards based on income and sales, and of course we got our own recognition because we hit the $9,000 mark per week. This was before, because they had to do a timeline cut back in June. So it was from June 2021 to June 2022. So amongst the new franchises that started from scratch, we had the top amount of sales per week. We hit that number, and my goal was also to achieve, to get to that ceremony with over triple digits of regular customers. That was my goal from day one.
Okay.
When I opened the doors and I had 0 customers, and my goal was to get to October and to have already to be on the triple digits in customers, and I am right now way past that. And when I look back, and I even look at my employees, and I'm like, do you remember in January when we had 2 customers? Do you remember in February when you only had 12 because of the issue with Google? So there was, and how did we get to this point, even with the bumps, with the accidents and the bruises, and how do we get to this? Instead of like just sometimes looking at the negative, we need to look at the positive, and then just looking at next year and see, and then just in the next 2 months, just to recap this whole year. At the same time, we plan the next year, and then what worked, what didn't work, what can change, what need to be changed. And going back to just what you said earlier about not cleaning houses, no, I don't go normally to clean. I do inspections. I do some of the background work, wearing many hats, but it's been occasions where I had to go. And the last one was actually 3 weeks ago. So where one of my employees was not feeling well, and I didn't want to cancel the service, so I tag along with the other team member, and I just went. And we just have to do what we have to do. I mean,
that's it.
Trying to do everything on our own, I don't advise that to anyone.
No.
Delegate as much as possible. We know in the beginning budgets are tight, but at the same time, just when you can identify the moment, let go of the responsibilities and assign it to someone if you can, right. And then start looking at the big picture as an owner.
Right, absolutely. And man, you just uncovered so much great stuff there. And by the way, kudos on both of those recognitions. Well deserved and not surprising to me at all. So you have to now have in your head from that big conference what you hope to be recognized for next year. Do you have it?
Yeah, I wish they could recognize me as a Rookie of the Year.
Okay. Because
you need to own the business for less than 2 years. But there's others that resales are included on the Rookie of the Year. So, which means that if you purchase a business that's already open, right. And what they like the Rookie of the Year this year, they purchase a moribund. Or a franchise in difficulty, because after COVID, some companies really suffered a lot. Sure. Some more than others, and I don't know the circumstances, but they were able to, after 6 months to a year, they would double the sales, and they did fantastic. I don't know, they did fantastic. I don't know all the details, but from what I was able to observe, so that is my goal, and also to double the amount of customers, the regular customers, and maintain them, and triple the Google reviews, and we are at 4.8, but we want to keep that amount and keep that score, and then we want to make sure that our customers keep recognizing us, and that's how the business can grow, because right now everything is almost digital. So that's one of the ways of expanding and grow the business.
And what great goals to have, right? And if you see it, they say, if you visualize it and you see it, then you make it happen. And there is, again, zero doubt in my mind that when you put your mind to something, Andre, it's going to happen. And listen, for everything that you've been through, none of it has shaken you. Like, I'm sure in the deep, dark nights, times at night, maybe my name was being cursed from time to time, but you sit here looking at this now, where you are, and the fact of what your goals are for next year. And I am going to cheerlead you all the way, and I can't wait to hear that you've met those goals next year. I thank you so much for coming on and talking about your story. And you can reach out and get your business or your home cleaned by Andre and his fantastic crew. Here is their information. And this is up in central-ish North Jersey here, Edison, Woodbridge, and Rahway. And this is Franchise Focus. I'm your host, Lisa Lankowski, and you can learn all about me at my website, milestonefranchising.com. And Franchise Focus airs every Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for tuning in.